Hey guys, as you can see, we made it back from the Boracay and Iloilo, visiting my brother and his wife. When we was in Boracay, we had a really good time. I would give it probably about a 7 out of 10 or so. Big tourist spot. Saw a lot of foreigners. Didn't talk to many, but didn't talk to any, I don't guess. But did see a bunch of foreigners. Didn't really make it to the beach. The day before we was gonna leave, we planned on going down there to the beach and spending some time and hanging out and letting the, swimming in the beach or swimming in the ocean or the sea or whatever you want to call it. But unfortunately, it rained that last day and we didn't make it. The wife was able to go down there and take a couple of videos on her phone and pictures in between the rain, but we didn't make it down there. We did plan on going to they have a big open market not very far away, so we thought it had stopped raining for the day, and we jumped on an e-bike thing, motor cab, I don't know what you call them, but they're electric. Anyway, went down there, and we was walking through the marketplace. It was lunchtime, so we was gonna eat. And not the marketplace, but like a big open mall. And we was looking for somewhere to eat because it was lunchtime, and wife asked me, she's like, well, how come you're not videoing? I'm like, well, let's eat and then we'll walk through all the shops and stuff, or a lot of the shops and stuff, and I'll video then. And so we sat down to eat, and hadn't even got our food yet, and it started pouring down rain again. And we'd walked a ways in that open mall because it was big before we settled on a Mexican restaurant, which by the way was very good Mexican food. But anyway, we had to walk back in the rain, so I didn't do any blogging or vlogging or anything like that. But we did have a good time. Of course, went back to Iloilo, to my brother's house, for one more day or so, and visited, and then flew back here to Dipolog. And that was it was an all right trip, I guess, on the way back. But we had a good time always visiting my brother and his wife, though. Had a real good time. But unfortunately, I got back, and that very next day we got back, I ended up with a fever. And so that day I was in bed all day sick. And then the next day I woke up and ended up having diarrhea. And so I fought that for about a week, taking medicine and stuff. So apparently I ate something that did not agree with me, but that's neither here nor there. That's life, that's how it goes. But we did have a good time. But I wanted to talk also about, not last night, but the night before last, on the 30th, I think it was, about the earthquake. They had an earthquake there in close to Cebu, I think Bogo or something like that, which is close to Cebu City. And it was ended up being a 6.9 magnitude earthquake, which is a pretty big earthquake. My brother lives in Iloilo, and I think it was like 5.3 where he was at. And here in Dipolog, it was like a 4.9, if I'm not mistaken. And I have to say that was not a very fun experience for me. I've never been in an earthquake. We're up on the second floor. Let me show you. So our apartment building is 2 floors. We're on the second floor. And like I said, I've never been through an earthquake. And so that was a little scary for me. It's kind of scary, kind of weird feeling to have the building shaking, underneath your feet. I was sitting over here in my recliner, and I started feeling kind of funny, just kind of weird. And it felt like my wife was shaking my chair. And I was looking, I was like, what in the world? Why is she shaking my chair? And I look over at my water bottle, and my water bottle's got these ripple things, you know, going in it, almost like if you've ever seen Jurassic Park, like when the Tyrannosaurus Rex is walking, they look at the water and you got them ripples, boom, and ripples, boom, ripples. That's how my water bottle was. So I was like, what? And then my wife, she's like, it's an earthquake. I was like, oh my gosh, earthquake? I'm like, well, we got to get out of here. And I don't know why I took the time to turn the TV off, but I turned the TV off, and I was like, you know, we got to get out of here. You know, we got to get out of the building in case it falls, because I didn't know how bad the earthquake was going to get. And like I said, never being in an earthquake before, my first thought was get out of the building. You know, you don't want to be in the building if the building falls. And so we get our shoes on, and they go out the door. I go out the door, and I'm walking down the little balcony area. And I get down one flight of steps, and I turn around thinking I'm thinking they're right behind me. And I look around and there's nowhere to be found now. So I walk up the steps and they're standing there on the balcony just looking around. I'm like, what are y'all doing? I'm like, we got to get out of the building in case it falls. And of course, she kind of laughs at me. She's like, I think it's over now. And I was like, oh, okay, you know. And she's like, this isn't my first earthquake to be in. And so I guess the earthquakes for them is kind of like the tornadoes in Arkansas. Of course, when the tornado siren goes off, everybody, instead of taking shelter, you just go outside and see if you can see the tornado. Even though the tornadoes are very destructive, just like earthquakes. But you get used to the sirens going off because you have so many storms during a certain time of year that you just go out to see if you can see the tornado, and if you see the tornado, then you go and take shelter. So that's kind of how they was. They just went out and looked, you know, off the balcony to see if anything was really going on or going to happen or whatever the case may be. But anyway, just wanted to share that. Like I said, it was kind of a scary little situation, weird feeling. First one I've ever been in, don't care to be in another one. It wasn't no fun, made me feel weird, kind of messes with your equilibrium, I think, because the building's shaking, you know, the earth's shaking, and so it kind of throws your balance off a little bit, I guess, or something. But just made me feel funny. But anyway, appreciate everybody watching. If you would, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I appreciate everybody watching, and I hope everybody has a good day, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.